What drives a person to travel nearly 1,000 miles just to end the life of the person that they claim to love? How does a highly educated medical professional transition from healing lives to systematically destroying them? Welcome. I'm a licensed professional counselor, and this is my mental health analysis of the Dr. Shirley Jane Turner case. I will be focusing on the main mental health and psychological indicators while providing the backstory. I don't just talk about the crimes, I talk about the psychology behind the crimes and the mysteries that captivate us. I look beyond the facts of the case to understand the why of the crime. My analysis is based on my speculations. It's not a diagnosis of anyone involved in this case. Is it possible for a pattern of obsessive attachment to be masked by an academic brilliance and professional success for decades? Dr. Shirley Jane Turner was born on January 28, 1961, in St. Anthony, Newfoundland, Canada. She spent a significant portion of her childhood in Wichita, Kansas, before returning to Newfoundland to pursue her education. She was a woman of immense intelligence who successfully navigated the rigors of medical school at Memorial University to become a physician. However, early in her life, we see a pattern of unstable interpersonal relationships that often serves as significant psychological red flag. By the time she met Andrew Bagby, Shirley had already been through 2 marriages and had 3 children with whom she had complex, often distant relationships. In psychological terms, we look at these early adult patterns as potential indicators of an inability to maintain stable attachments or a possible disorganized attachment style. Was her pursuit of a medical degree a genuine desire to help others, or was it a tool used to exert control and gain social status? Shirley met Andrew Bagby in 1999 while he was a medical student at Memorial University, and their relationship continued as they both pursued their medical careers. Andrew was 10 years younger than Shirley and was widely described as a charismatic, kind, and deeply loved individual. Their relationship was tumultuous from the beginning, characterized by Shirley's intense demands for his time and attention. When Andrew tried to distance himself, Shirley's behavior escalated into what we might identify as obsessive stalking. She would frequently show up unannounced and send a barrage of emails and phone calls, which are hallmark behaviors of someone struggling with a profound fear of abandonment. This intense fear can lead an individual to believe that if they cannot possess the object of their affection, then no one can. Why does a person respond to a breakup not with grief, but with a calculated plan of ultimate retaliation? On November 3, 2001, Andrew definitively ended the relationship and put Shirley on a plane back to Iowa from Pennsylvania. However, Shirley did not stay in Iowa. She immediately drove her car approximately 950 miles back to Pennsylvania to confront him. Andrew's body was discovered on the morning of November 6, 2001, in the parking lot of Keystone State Park. He had been shot 5 times in the face, chest, and buttocks, and the back of his head. The clinical significance of the number of shots and the locations of the wounds often suggests an overkill scenario. In my professional speculation, overkill typically indicates a high level of personal animosity and a deep-seated need to punish the victim. It wasn't just about ending his life. It was about total destruction of the person who rejected her. Can a mother truly use her unborn child as a pawn in a game of legal and emotional manipulation? Immediately after the murder, Shirley fled back to Iowa and then across the border, effectively becoming a fugitive. Shortly after her arrival in Canada, she revealed a bombshell. She was pregnant with Andrew Bagby's child. Psychologically, this pregnancy serves as a powerful shield and a tether to Andrew's grieving parents, David and Kathleen. It allowed her to maintain a sense of control over the Bagby family, forcing them to interact with the woman suspected of murdering their son. This behavior suggests a high degree of manipulation and a lack of empathy for secondary victims of her alleged crime. She used the biological connection to Andrew as a weapon to ensure she remained the center of the family's universe. How does a legal system fail so catastrophically when the psychological warning signs are flashing bright red? Despite the first-degree murder charge in Pennsylvania, Shirley was released on bail in Canada by Justice Gail Wells, who concluded that Turner was not a threat to the public. On July 18, 2002, she gave birth to a son, Zachary Andrew Turner. The Bagbrys moved to be near their grandson, entering a harrowing legal battle for custody and visitation. During this time, Shirley's behavior remained erratic, yet she managed to convince several officials of her stability. This is a common trait in individuals with certain personality traits who are high-functioning and can mask their pathology in a structured environment. They often present as the victim of circumstances rather than the instigator of conflict. What happens when a person's sense of self is so tied to another that they choose total annihilation over losing control? The Canadian court system's decision to grant her bail was based on the assessment that she was not a danger to the public. However, from a psychological standpoint, this failed to account for the specific danger she posed to those closest to her. In cases of domestic violence or obsession, the danger is rarely generalized to the public, but is hyper-focused on the victims of the perpetrator's fixation. Shirley's psychological profile suggests a woman whose entire identity was built on the control of her environment and her belongings. When the legal walls finally began to close in and extradition became certain, her sense of control vanished. The loss of her freedom meant the final loss of her ability to control the narrative and the people within it. Is the act of murder-suicide an ultimate expression of love or the ultimate expression of ownership? On August 18, 2003, while out on bail, Shirley Jane Turner took her 13-year-old Zachary to a fishing wharf at Foxtrap Conception. She had administered a lethal dosage of Ativan to the infant before the final act. She strapped her infant son to her chest and jumped into the Atlantic Ocean, where they both drowned. This act is the most extreme form of maternal filicide, often driven by a murder fantasy where the parent believes the child cannot exist without them. In my analysis, this wasn't an act of mercy for the child, but the final act of spite against the Bagbrys and the legal system. By taking Zachary, she ensured that David and Kathleen would lose that last piece of their son that they had left. I keep saying these in my videos, but this is a tragic, tragic case. Here we have a doctor, very well educated, obviously very intelligent, and had a plan. And both of them went to medical school. They had a drive, they had a passion to help people. And yet in this relationship, a personality in Dr. Shirley, Dr. Turner, it shifted and it went to obsessive force. And unfortunately, it ended in Andrew's death and ultimately ended Zachary's death as well. So, so sad. Cannot imagine what Zachary's grandparents are still thinking and how they're still feeling. This case, it never truly goes away. The trauma, the grief, it's always there. It stays there. And it's complicated by a murder of their son and obviously the murder of their grandchild and their daughter-in-law. This was so, so tragic. So what did you think about this case? Were there any elements that stood out to you? If you want more mental health analysis of true crime stories like this one, be sure to subscribe for more. And if you found this case compelling, be sure to watch this next story. It will make you more aware of your surroundings. And until next time, stay curious, stay safe.